What is up, good people? Playoff podcast time. So, Chargers obviously did not win yesterday. Yesterday.
Mhm.
But that's okay because they were resting starters and it really didn't matter, which we were hoping they would do, and thank goodness they did. So now they are going to be playing the Patriots. It's going to be in New England. It's going to be a matchup that we're going to talk about now. But what do you want to cover? You want to cover this game at all? This loss to the Broncos. Do you care? I don't quite. But is there anything you want to talk about?
Broncos fans clearly do. Now, not especially. I mean, if we want to discuss maybe a couple of standouts, I mean, there weren't very many. You've got cats like Andre James, who looked like a serviceable center against the Denver Broncos' stout defensive front. And I don't know. I don't know what that means for next week. Could mean nothing at all. But the fact that we all got to see it with our own eyes and probably still watch Bradley Bozeman trot out there on Sunday against New England. I just don't. I think he's blackmailing Jim. He's got something on somebody on the team. It's got to be. Otherwise, it makes no sense. But outside of that, another couple names, Keandre Lambert-Smith. I mean, outside of the ball that caromed off his hands that turned into a pick six, it was okay. Trey Harris flashed. He had an almost ridiculous toe drag TD reception. I wish they just would have given it to him. Like
I know.
it was tremendous. But again, he just keeps showing up every week. I wish he was more a part of the offense. But at this point, end of the year, we'll see what happens in the playoffs. Defensively, you got Marlo Wax flying around like a bat out of hell. Just got to finish some of these plays, but he looks like something more than just a special teams demon. Maybe potentially moving forward in the future, someone who can be in that linebacker rotation. And Egg Boy. Justin Igboigbe popped out a few times as well. So other than that, I don't know if there's very much else to talk about. Trey Lance, boo to you, because I was really hoping that you were going to show up and maybe potentially get the Chargers a comp pick here, but I don't think anybody wants to touch you with 10-foot pole, son. So
No.
Yeah, I don't know if there are any guys that, other than the ones I just rattled off, that stuck out to you at all.
Yeah, no, Marlo Wax was a nice little surprise. I thought Delshon Phillips showed up a little bit too. It was surprising that both linebackers popped, but yeah, our egg boy flashed a lot too. And yeah, Trey Lance just had everything on a rope yesterday. Like there was no touch to any of his deep balls that he had. And it just felt like if it wasn't like a 5 to 7 yard rocket to somebody, it just wasn't happening. So so Denver took that away pretty easily. And we didn't get to see a lot from any real wide receivers or running backs yesterday, even though, Trey Harris flashed and KLS did too. But yeah, it kind of is what it was. We were hoping this would happen. I thought Andre James did pretty good. I know people are trouting out PFF rankings for the offensive line, but I mean, for the most part, outside of Deculus, I thought it was like solid-ish. I thought Penning did pretty. I thought both guards did pretty good. And then I thought Andre James did pretty good. I thought the tackles had their issues, which was fine. But I was really excited to see the rookie yesterday, and I'm glad I got to see him because I was pretty impressed from a couple reps from him. But outside of that, yeah, there wasn't really much going on. It felt like the Chargers didn't want to show a lot. Denver didn't want to show a lot. And it felt like the defense, even with, mostly backups for the most part, did pretty good on limiting the Broncos. Trey Lance gave them 7 after that. Well, I guess Trey Lance didn't do it because it was off KLS's hands, but the Chargers offense gave the Broncos 7 points. But outside of that, defense held pretty steady. And I know Tony Jefferson was pretty fired up about that and pretty hyped about them not getting theirs when it was a game they had to win to get that 1 seed because the Patriots were just piling on the Dolphins. But yeah, it was fine. It just feels like they needed to rest everybody. And Keenan Allen, it felt, he got his money, which was great. It felt like he played a little bit longer than you'd like, but outside of, I think injuries happened. He just had to stay out there. But outside of that, yeah. And then hopefully Dante Jackson, is ready for the playoffs. He said that the doctors cleared him to come back into the game, but they decided to hold him out. So that's positive. But yeah, outside of that, it was just there was it felt like a preseason game.
Yeah, I was really happy to see Keenan get his money. I didn't think he was going to hit all of his incentives, but I mean, they clearly had the mindset of going out there and just getting man his bread. So I respect that for sure because I think that money is essentially coming right out of Dean's pocket. So
Hmm.
like all of that, and I mean, they've done a really nice job at becoming much more player centric. Ever since Harbaugh came in town, so I'm not shocked. Um, the fact that they were willing to have him out there as long as they were to do it. I mean, they were kind of force feeding him the ball. What did he have? Like 8, 9 targets, something along those lines. So they were trying to ensure that he got it.
Yeah.
And uh, I got triggered there. The first passing play of the game was was not a quick game. I believe it was a screen. I'm like, you got to be
Mhm.
kidding me. This is what we're doing today, Greg? Okay, cool. I mean, but all things considered, I understood what the goal was. It was to get Keenan his bread. So the fact that he was able to get it, bravo to him. And as far as the rest of the game goes, I mean, we watched it because we had to.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I could have cared less. I mean, I was multitasking while I was watching the game,
Mhm.
just hoping, like in the background, I'd hear something happen. I mean, I was watching it, but I was also like doing the dishes. Like that's how much or how little
Uh,
I actually cared about this game. Because I mean,
yeah.
there's no fun in doing dishes. Much rather, but the fact that I was doing the dishes as opposed to giving my full attention to a Chargers game should tell you all you need to know about it.
Yeah. And of course, and we were kind of talking about before we got on here, but Broncos fans, like the chat is saying, were talking crazy after they won that game.
Nuts, man. Repping for a win in which your starters, forget the defense. Your defense did what it was supposed to do. I mean, you held a bunch of backups to 3 points. Cool. Your offense didn't put up a single touchdown against a defense that was missing what? Derwin James,
Everybody.
Khalil Mack, Tui Tuipulotu,
Yeah.
Deion Henley, Denzel Perryman, Elijah Molden. I mean, Dante Jackson was there early, but then he went down. Come on, man. Really? This is what, and you know what they wanted to do, right? They wanted Herbert to win because they want so badly to be able to claim that Knicks has a win over Herbert, which he still does not, by the way.
Right.
And keep in mind, you got to make up your mind about whether or not wins are a QB stat. I love how people just continuously move the goalposts for that, but it's funny how that works. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is. I'm thankful to get the majority of the guys out healthy. Saw some dudes get nicked up, KLS, and that hammy, that looked tricky. The way he went
Yeah.
down, I'm really going to be shocked if he's like available next week or this week, should I say. I'm going to be completely baffled if they like, I don't know, maybe they feed him a sensu bean or something before a kickoff and like he's perfectly fine. But the angle in which he went down, that looked like a really bad strain. And at this point, he's probably the best returner on the team. So well, outside of Lad, but you don't really want Lad doing that. On
Mhm.
kickoff return at all. I'm not putting Lad back there for kickoff returns, but he's probably your best pure kick returner right now, even with Darius Davis back. But we'll see what they do here on special teams moving forward. But outside of that, Dante Jackson being able to, well, technically go back in the game, encouraged by that, even though
Yeah.
Harbaugh would not comment on any injuries today during the presser.
Mhm.
Uh, just thankful that our best corner is still, hopefully, going to be fully available on Sunday because we're definitely going to need them.
Yeah, because it felt like throughout that game there were Broncos O linemen that were just like falling like flies. Uh, Garrett Bowles being face down on the ground in your last regular season game. That's scary. I don't know what I mean, they've got a week to rest, obviously, because they got the 1 seed, but man, they got a lot of players nicked up. So yeah, and when your quarterback is like 14 for 23 for didn't even hit 150. I mean, like you can go celebrate that all you want in a home win, but you're
But
facing
Garrett, they were only running base offense, man.
okay.
That's what I was told. It's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
they didn't do anything offensively, just base offense. Forget the fact that they played against almost all backups.
Well,
That
and
shouldn't
that's the
matter at all.
problem is you're not considering any other perspective on what actually happened.
No,
So
context doesn't matter.
if you're taking
Yeah,
context out of it, then yes, yeah,
mhm.
base defense and offense,
Who,
great.
who cares about the truth when the lie is more entertaining?
All right. Before we get into this and this preview of this matchup, which I'm pretty excited about, which is one we were hoping for. We'd been talking about it. We
We got what
wanted
we
this
asked for.
Though I think we did the same thing last year with the Texans, but I don't want to.
I was gonna say that because it gave me a flashback to last year because I was at that game, and unfortunately, I'm hoping this isn't one of those scenarios where you get what you asked for, just not the way that you wanted it.
Oh,
But
can't
I
wait.
feel like our fortunes are going to be a little different this time around.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Before we get to that, Chargers make a interesting signing. The Ravens cut guard Ben Cleveland, which feels like odd timing
Hmm.
this late in the season. Why not just roll with them, especially when you're in a game that you were gonna, possibly go into the playoffs with. But regardless, it's fine. So Ravens drop guard Ben Cleveland, a name we have mentioned here on the podcast. Obviously, some familiarity with not only Greg Roman and Joe Ortiz. So they're familiar with the system. He is now on the practice squad. What are your thoughts on this Ben Cleveland signing heading into the playoffs?
So two things. Uh, Anyone could have seen this coming. If he clear waivers, which we all assume that he would, he was almost certainly going to be a Charger. The thing
Mhm.
that caught my attention is, if I'm not mistaken, folks in the chat, feel free to correct me. It looks like they elevated him from the practice squad already. And if they've done that, it poses another question about what that lineup's going to look like on Sunday. Now, that's not to say that he would definitely start, but if they've already elevated him, then it tells me that maybe, just maybe, there's a situation with Mekhi Becton. I don't know whether it's an injury or otherwise, because it could be one of a few things with that dude, that may give Cleveland an opportunity to play. Now, I mean, I get it. Um, he's familiar with the system, so that gives him an advantage going into the game. But as far as the player himself, Ben Cleveland was always someone that I thought made sense for the Chargers. Like, they love huge players. So I think Cleveland's like 6'4", 6'5", like 330 plus. So he's like kind of that road grader as a guard that you want on the interior. But he hasn't played very well. He has some injury issues and some off the field stuff. So in order to kind of get him in and rehabilitate his career, he's just going to have to come in, hunker down, and be ready to go from day one. Because in the event that they need him, he literally has to step in and provide some serious burn on the interior. And I'm fine with the fact that he is familiar with the system, so that helps. But the player right now, I think this is more of a longer term play to see if they can again fix him. But his offensive line coach is still Mike Devlin. And I think I said this earlier in the Discord. Signing Ben Cleveland and having Mike Devlin as his coach is like tantamount to buying a coloring book and gifting it to Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know who you plug and play with Mike Devlin and expect any positive results. But part of the reason why Ben Cleveland was released was he got popped for substance abuse policy, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had issues with his ongoing relationship, which is an off the field issue and divorce and everything else. But he did get arrested for a DUI. So there were some other extra factors that played into this, but Cleveland signing a veteran guard when you're heading into the playoffs, already having the worst offensive line in football, cannot hurt you. And I know, like, we kind of said that with Trevor Penning, but I mean, I don't know. In jumbo packages, he hasn't been all that bad. As a right guard yesterday on Sunday, he wasn't all that bad. You add Ben Cleveland as some depth option. Maybe you start to, weigh your options at right guard heading into this playoff game and say, Becton hasn't cut it so far this season. What is our best five heading into that game? And maybe you throw Ben Cleveland in the mix, and you throw Trevor Penning in the mix, and you throw Mekhi Becton in the mix and see what happens. But I don't think they go away from Becton, but it is an interesting development. I think there's no downside of signing a guy like Ben Cleveland, a guy who's had success in the past, and a familiarity with the system already, that it's like, he's going to be able to catch up pretty easy. I don't know how much playing time he's going to get. I just don't see him starting a football game anytime soon, unless there's like major injuries. But I think it's a smart move heading into the playoffs just to get you some extra beef on that offensive line, because I mean, at this point, anything is better than what they got, and anything you can do to help make that better, I'm all for it. So, send in Ben Cleveland as another depth piece. The rosters expand for the playoffs too, so I don't know if that plays into it as well, but it could be a nice another jumbo package piece that maybe we don't have to see Scott Matlock in as much packages if you can get another big beefy piece like Ben Cleveland and a Trevor Penning in a jumbo set.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it probably lends itself more to depth, and going into the playoffs, it just makes a lot of sense. If you can add a piece to a unit that, I mean, you know how this works. The Chargers almost always have some sort of offensive line issues. It's very rare that they go a single game without someone getting nicked up. So yeah, especially on the interior where quarterbacks hate the pressure to come from the most. If you can kind of sort of help to shore that up, that's the right term to put for this. But I mean, again, familiarity with the system, a guy who has played some solid ball at times throughout his career. I don't see it being an issue. And like, if you want to run those jumbo packages, having another 6'3", 6'4", 330 plus pound dude out there can't hurt.
Yeah. No, it can't. So it just made too much sense, and there's real no downside, because it just can't get worse. And that's that's just kind of the cards they've been dealt this year with the injuries that have occurred. So you ready to head into playoff talk?
Yeah, man, let's get to the fun stuff.
Okay. All right. Do you want me to put up some images and show you some offense versus defense, or you want to, where do you want to start?
Roll the visuals, man. Let's do that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good timing. Here's how we look, and we're going to there's some numbers that we need to talk about, and maybe this is probably where we start. So offensively, here's how the Patriots and the Chargers match up. As you see, the Patriots dominate every category, from points per game, total yards per game, pass yards, rush yards, and then they give out less takeaways on offense. But Craig, these numbers are a little bit deceiving, don't you think?
Very much so. Again, we have to consider the context here. Have a look-see at the Patriots schedule this year, and you will find that they've played a near bottom difficulty of schedule in the entire NFL. So when you're playing like against, I mean, they're NFL teams, so you still have to go out there and compete and get the job done. But I mean, when the level of competition isn't at the highest degree for almost the entirety of a season, then you probably should, when you have pretty decent talent and you're building a roster from the inside out. Like, you get the way that this team wants to play football, and they're a younger squad, but it's in a very advantageous situation being in the division that they're in. I mean, you get to play teams like the Jets twice a year, which the Dolphins.
Yep.
We can just keep running down the list. And you're supposed to spank those teams. So yeah, them being top 10 in virtually everything on both sides of the ball, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, they're a very well coached team. Also, they've got some high level talent at some key positions. It works. I mean, if they weren't very good this year, I would be a little concerned. Well, as far as the record is concerned, but I don't want to just poo-poo it and say that they can't play. I mean, you're putting up almost 30 points a game. So that's not normal, even if you're playing kind of a sorry schedule. But, you're getting a lot of consistent play from your second year QB, who is a very good college QB. Also former teammate of Marion Hampton. I'm sure most of you folks know that. So there's that correlation. But if we're being honest about it, I think some of these numbers are a bit fugazi, because where they're weak tells you a whole lot about where they can be exposed. And we'll talk about that in a bit. But I mean, all these, points per game, like I said, almost 30. So they're like top 2 or 3 in the league in that. Your yards per game, top 10 in the league there, passing yards, top 5, rushing yards, top 10. Just on offense, defensively, points allowed, they're in the top 5, yards allowed, like top 10, pass defense, top 10, rushing defense is like somewhere in the 10 to 15 range. So great. But who have you had to stop? Who have you had to score on? And when you go look at that schedule and you see the teams that they've played against, it's a little eye-opening. But again, I know a lot of people don't care about context. They just look at the overall record. But I think this is one of those scenarios where your record isn't what you are. I forget who's the coach that says that your record it says who you are.
The record is who they say. Yeah. Is that Dennis Green?
No. They are who we thought they were.
Yeah.
There was someone else who says, you are what your record says you are.
Yeah.
I don't believe that in this scenario. I think it's a little false. And again, I'm not trying to discredit them because I know I already got elitist Patriots fans in my mentions on Twitter.
Don't worry about it.
Already talking crazy. It's fine. I get it. But be honest with yourself. And y'all know my motto. If you're not going to keep it real, at least keep it realistic. Look at who you've played and then do the math accordingly. And again, great. I'm happy that you guys, win your division, which isn't saying much. Smartest kid in the dumbest class. But congrats to you.
Yeah. They can only play who they were scheduled. But if you look at strength of schedule, here it is. The Patriots had a 0.342 strength of schedule, which is looks like, the easiest schedule among all playoff teams. So,
and I think they were against current playoff teams? Were they like 500, 2-2, something like that? I have to double check.
I don't know. Yeah, look that up because I know they split the series with Buffalo.
That's one.
They lost to Pittsburgh, but I'm gonna have to look that up because I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't think they played anybody of note and did much outside of beating the Bills early in the season, which was a totally different team. Here we go. Went 1-1 with
they lost to Pittsburgh.
Bills, lost to Pittsburgh. Any other playoff teams? Falcons, Buccaneers didn't make it. Bengals didn't make it. Giants didn't make it. Ravens didn't make it. Yeah. No, they were 1-2.
1-2. Okay.
Oh, Carolina. Wait.
Oh, yes.
Carolina made it. That's it. Yeah.
How did we forget?
Yeah.
How did we forget the Carolina Panthers in the juggernaut known as the NFC South?
Yeah. Okay. Now, if we move on to defense, look, Patriots 18.8 points per game. Chargers were 20. Chargers give up less yards per game, total yards, less pass yards per game. Chargers give up 4 more rushing yards and have 6 more takeaways on defense than the Patriots do.
Mm-hmm.
So the Patriots ranked 5th in points scored as an offense, which was almost 6 points more than the Chargers, who were the 7th ranked team. Both offenses were really good on key downs. The Patriots were 7th in third down percentage and number 1 in fourth down percentage, while the Chargers were 3rd in third down percentage and 18th in fourth down percentage. New England was one of 6 teams to allow fewer than 20 points. Chargers obviously hit right at 20 points, but the Chargers defense did rank 6th in turnovers forced, including the 3rd most interceptions with 19. So the Chargers was also one of 13 teams to have 40 plus sacks as a defense. New England was not one of them. They had 35.
Again, when you deep dive these numbers, it's actually pretty hilarious to see just some of the stark differences between the two teams with regard to production and who the production came against. I will say one of the things that caught my attention, and I plan on, throughout the week, kind of diving a little deeper into all of the numbers and maybe looking at some Patriots film if I can get some time. Their red zone defense is horrible. I think they're bottom 3, which is funny because you look at all of these other stats where they rank in the top 10, and then you look at where it matters, and they're actually pretty bad. And I was really shocked to see that. So I believe they've given up touchdowns on 70% or 70 plus, percent of red zone trips by the opposition, which is insanity. So the Chargers are kind of the polar opposite. They're like top 5 in red zone defense. So the Chargers will play bend don't break and essentially just get in the red zone somehow. Well, I mean, you got to have some decent offense to get down there in the first place. But the Patriots are pretty much the polar opposite. If you can get in scoring range, they're just like giving it up, and it leads you to wonder about what the game plan is going to be going in. I have some ideas about the way I think they can help to take advantage of that defense or be most efficient against it. But this lends pretty well to an offense that, when it gets in scoring range, likes to, get the big boys on the field and dominate with the run game to kind of grind them down. And maybe they just use physicality when we're talking about getting inside the 10-yard line. And leaning heavily on the running game, but that might also create some opportunities where you can get guys to leak out and get some easy receptions. So Greg Roman, hope you're staying up late this week.
So the Patriots rank dead last in red zone defense, giving up 75% of touchdowns on opponents' red zone trips. So every 3 out of 4 red zone trips is a touchdown, which is quick math in my head. I didn't want to go any higher than that. But yes.
You sure you didn't want to be an accountant?
You're exactly right. Absolutely not. No, that was Jamie did the numbers. I wanted to talk about skills and stuff. You want to talk about contract numbers. So I do think we should probably talk about some of like the injuries and stuff before we break down matchups and skill positions and all that other stuff. So Craig, for the Chargers, obviously both tackles are out, but Jamari Salyer, whether he'll come back or not, Marion Hampton, who's working through it, doing everything he can to be available on Sundays. I think what Harbaugh said today. Dante Jackson being a little banged up. What do you think? What do you think about those? I mean, not having Salyer out there would be awful.
That hurts.
Yeah.
It's a hammy. You're talking about offensive linemen, big boys. So soft tissue injuries, big guys tend to take a little while to heal up. I mean, it mostly affects the twitchier athletes, so skill position guys. But I don't know, man, when you're talking about getting in the pass sets, and I don't remember what leg it is. So I'm trying to think, it just kind of depends on what he has to push off with at the snap. And him getting in the pass sets, that's going to be difficult, driving guys off of the ball in the running game. So hamstring injuries are tricky, but they absolutely need him. If you don't have Salyer, I think it greatly affects what you want to do offensively, specifically in the passing game. But what it also does is it almost forces, or I would imagine, because this is just me thinking logically, that it would force you into more quick game. But that's just me. I know Greg Roman does not take conventional wisdom and apply it to these game plans, apparently. But in my mind, that's probably going to be the position or the guy that's available or not that's going to most affect the game plan and what you can do to attack this defense. Because, again, you look at where they rank across the board as far as like yardage and the whole nine, but they do have some areas that they can be taken advantage of. So for me, that's going to be the primary guy that I'm looking at. And hopefully Dante Jackson can go. I'm not as concerned if he misses, but I absolutely, I mean, you're talking about one of the most underrated players on the team this season. Dante Jackson is him. When you're looking at just the overall numbers, yards given up per target, talking about like guys actually scoring on him, like he has been near the top of the league as a coverage corner. And it's because he's been allowed to do what he was best suited to do, which he wasn't really asked to do in Pittsburgh. He's more of an off coverage zone guy who can click and close. He's got really great acceleration and speed. And he's a risk taker. But when he gambles, he's normally right. So they've used it to great advantage in this defense, and you'll lose that playmaking ability on the perimeter if he's not playing, but he also comes downhill like a man in the running game as well. So you get the best of everything. The man coverage isn't tremendous, but it kind of makes up for it with everything else that he does well. So with what the Patriots have as far as receiving is concerned, I think you
Mhm.
can maybe offset it even if he's not around, but having him is going to be a huge issue, or could potentially be a huge issue not having him, you know, guarding whoever their receiver is going to be playing to the field. And I'm thinking off the top of my head, I can't remember who their, well, no, that would be, who's their Z receiver? Diggs. I think
Uh-huh.
Diggs plays Z for him, so he's going to be getting a lot of motion and movement out in space. So you need somebody who's a little bit twitchier that can keep up with him, or you're going to have to get extremely physical with him with the bigger corner. And yeah, so that affects the game plan to that degree as well. But we know the Chargers like to play majority zone, but they have been playing more man since the bye. So yeah, those are the two guys. The two you named, Dante Jackson, Jamari Sawyer, are going to be the ones that we have to keep an eye out for this week to see what they look like on those injury reports.
Yeah, I think Salyer is the one that you have to like keep the closest eye on. It not having a Marion Hampton would hurt, but we've seen Kamani Badal carry the load, and we'll see what he does in the playoffs. And I don't know if, because he seemed to be good one week and then bad one week and then good one week, so I don't know where we're at on that. Maybe he's good. He didn't really do much against the Broncos, so maybe he's ride the hot hand, let him just go take the full load since he's on a good week.
Hey,
But
yo.
you'd love to have everybody there. But Dante Jackson probably being the least concerned about. If they thought that he could return in that game, he's with a full week rest, he's going to be fine for
Yeah.
Sunday. You'd assume. Not having Jamari Salyer would be a mess. This offensive line just cannot get worse than it already is, and Salyer made this line so much better once those tackles went down. I don't know why they didn't go to him earlier, but whatever, they ended up landing there. And so hopefully he is back and he'll be okay for Sunday. We're hoping. In terms of the Patriots, there's a couple key injuries. I mean, it feels like I don't know what's going to happen with the Stephon Diggs situation. And Matt Collins too. It just feels like if those are the two wide receivers on that team that have more than 50 targets, and there's a possibility that they don't have either for the playoff game, but I don't know. We'll see. That's kind of up in the air, and I don't really want to play that game. But ones that were really injured, Jared Wilson, rookie left guard who was really good while watching him early on in the season, missed the last two games, felt like the offensive line was best when he was there, though I thought Ben Brown did pretty good filling in for him these last couple games. Their defensive lineman, I don't remember his first name, Tonga. He's missed a couple games with a foot injury. He feels like one of their better run defenders this season. Has a good pass rush inside too. Maybe he will be back. We'll see. And then Robert Spillane, the other linebacker, he led the team in tackles. The run defense has suffered since he hasn't been in there the last 4 games. He's had like 97 tackles, almost 100 this season. The veteran was really good in that defense. He's been injured and maybe sidelined throughout the playoffs, but we will see. So the Patriots seem to be pretty healthy heading into this. They got Will Campbell. I almost said Henderson. Will Campbell back. They got Milton Williams back. And then, some other players that were injured are starting to heal up a little bit too. So while, the Chargers had some rough injury stuff happen in the early parts of the year, it just feels like both teams are a little nicked up, but start kind of hopping in the playoffs healthy-ish enough that this will be a pretty good matchup.
I will say though, you brought up a good point. I wasn't even thinking about Milton Williams being back, but he did play last week. I think he's been out since like week 11. He had like a high ankle sprain or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But Williams next to Christian Barmore is a little scary on the interior. So they've got to figure out a way to neutralize that. We do know that, hell, it's saying a lot when you've got the who's who of who the hell is that playing at left and right tackle every week. But the interior of your offensive line is this bad so often. Against two guys like that, we know what Williams is. He gets after the quarterback. He's your interior pass rusher. Barmore can do a little bit of both. That's scary. Then Harold Landry, I think he leads their team in sacks. Got like 7.5, 8.5. He was out for a couple of weeks. and I think his availability is still up in the air. I haven't checked their injury report here in the last few hours, but yeah, I'm not really concerned about the edge rushers between Landry and Chason. They don't scare me. I mean, of course, you also don't have to be great to take advantage of this Chargers tackle room. So I am a little concerned about the interior. So again, game planning is going to be tremendous for this one. We can't just beat our heads up against the wall doing what we think would work if, or having the same game plan as if all of the guys are available to us. So it's going to take some doing. Greg's got some work to do. And again, you mentioning Williams, I completely forgot about him, but the interior is going to be a little hellacious this week.
Yeah, and I just want to clear something up. So Mac Hollins will not be playing this game. What I was referring to is Stephon Diggs off the field stuff that has been overshadowing him the last couple of weeks. But no, Hollins will not be in. He was put on IR and he was going to miss 4 weeks, so he will not be back this week for sure.
Yeah, Mac likes to walk around with like no shoes on everywhere.
Yeah, I know. He's
like
a character.
Yeah, he's one with the Earth, like Captain Planet.
All right, so let's talk about key matchups. Whether you want to talk about players or just game planning in general, like you got what's one that you're kind of keeping an eye on for this matchup?
Who is Christian Gonzalez going to focus on? I don't think he plays a ton in the slot, so I'm not necessarily concerned about him manning up Ladd. I have to go back again. Like I said, I want to use this week to watch some tape to see if he travels or if he just kind of mans boundary or field for the majority of his snaps. But you have to pick your poison. That's their number one corner. So I'm curious as to who they're going to attach him to, or if he's just going to take whoever aligns to his side. I already talked about the interior guys, both Barmore and Williams. So, just take your pick. Other than that, their defense doesn't really scare me. I feel like if we can get some movement on the offensive line, decent surge, that the running game will wear on them, and eventually something's going to break. I was thinking about Amari Hampton, and it's good to see that like he was held out, again for precautionary reasons. But I think a lot of people also noticed this when he scored that touchdown 2 weeks ago. He came off the field limping a little bit, and I think it was his ankle. I'm assuming it was the same one. So it's just good to see that, again, they were exercising an abundance of caution with him last week and kept him out with the other kind of primary starters. So this is one of those games where I think you can take advantage of maybe using your best players almost as decoys in certain situations. So I would say that definitely don't really test Christian Gonzalez, but find out where he is on the field and then maybe use numbers to the opposite side of him. But then again, that would involve decent spacing in the passing game, which has been a problem all season long. But again, I have no reason to believe it, but I think Greg Roman's going to do a better job this week. I guess I'm trying to will it into existence. So really and truly, my two main matchups specifically on their end is Gonzalez versus whoever aligns with him, or if he follows whoever the hot hand is, or if they have a game plan of eliminating one of the receivers right off the bat. And again, how we align and match up against the interior of that defensive line, because there's a chance that they can wreak havoc on the inside, and we know that that's the easiest way to just blow up an offensive game plan, and you find yourself behind and down a distance in the sticks, and the Chargers do not have an offense built to contend with that. As far as coming from behind and having to make up for third and long situations. They want to live in third and medium and less if they can manage it. Third 9+, third and 8+, all that stuff. Yeah, try to stay out of that as much as humanly possible.
Yeah. It does feel like this defense doesn't have a lot of stars, but Christian Gonzalez could be that one, star of that defense. Definitely one of the better, developing as one of the better corners in the NFL. And it's going to be interesting to see if he does shadow somebody, or, if they let him just roll to where he's at, and then what the Chargers do to match up with that. Since, we're talking about Chargers offense, one thing, and obviously we were touching on a little bit, but the Chargers have got to find a way to stop the Patriots pass rush. They do not have a dominant pass rush at all. They're a very middle of the road group. Harold Landry, who did not play the last 2 games, Vrabel did not give an update on him today. He's been dealing with injuries throughout the entire season. He's been banged up, but he missed the last 2 games. But between him and Chason, their other edge rusher, it's 8.5 and 7.5 sacks between both of them. And I know the Chargers' offensive line is their biggest weakness, and they've been terrible. But this should not be a game where they're struggling giving Herbert time. This is not anything like they faced 2 weeks ago with this Houston defense. They had the league's best defense going against them, the Texans, and the Chargers' offensive line only gave up 5 sacks to Herbert. Herbert had time. This should not be a game where Herbert is under constant duress, especially if they want to win. Now, I know they have some impressive interior guys. We talked about Barmore and Williams. They've got a good interior defensive line, but they don't have a ton of pass rushers. So it just feels like, obviously, if you give Herbert time, he can deal. But if you're letting an average group like these pass rushers on this defensive line get to Herbert, it's going to be a very, very, very long day for the Chargers. And I know they've been bad all year, but this just isn't a good enough group to be giving you that much issues. If you got a chip or find some way to slow down Harold Landry or Barmore or help out whoever, find a way, because this group cannot, if they start having issues with this group, it doesn't bode well for this week or any week going after that. And I know it's 1 week at a time, but this should not be a group that they have a problem with, and they're going to have to find some way to stop the pass rush. Hopefully they can do it. But again, they did a pretty admirable job against the Texans with a pretty patched up offensive line during that game. And they still didn't really give up a ton. But this game here, they have got to give Herbert some time.
And if they give him time, there are some very specific areas where the Chargers can absolutely eat. Now, I mentioned them getting the running game going. You know that's going to be a part of the offense. There's no such thing as that not happening with Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh. At some point, it's going to be a thing. The coverage in the short, well, really more so in the intermediate portions of the field, they're susceptible there. Their second-level guys aren't all that great, and that means
they got, I don't know if you remember this name, Jalen Hawkins.
Yes, I do remember Jalen Hawkins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
you got him.
Blast from the past.
Center fielder. Yep.
Well, it's funny. So I think one of their primary slot guys is Marcus Jones, who's somebody I was a huge fan of coming out of Houston, specifically as a return guy. Marcus Jones was a complete animal. He's a smaller guy, but heart of a lion. Yeah, so the intermediate portions of the field, if Christian Gonzalez, which I seriously doubt he follows Ladd McConkey, if you're talking about an area that you can tear them up in, it's in the intermediate portion of the field, which means Ladd should get a ton of targets. Ladd, and I mentioned this earlier, well, actually yesterday, since thinking about this game, I have no reason to believe why this will happen, but I think Keenan Allen's going to have a big game. It doesn't really make sense as to why.
Oh, see, I thought you were doing QJ. That's funny.
Well, I think that when you're talking about things like crosses and getting QJ on shallow crosses and giving them an opportunity to run with the ball, that's going to work too, because the other issue that they have is tackling in space. From what I've seen so far, they're not all that fundamentally sound in open field tackling. That means the guys that are really good after the catch, like a Ladd, like a QJ, should be able to break some pretty big chunk receptions or runs after the catch in this game. But when we're talking about just moving the chains and converting on third downs, I think both Ladd and Keenan, but for some strange reason, Keenan Allen keeps sticking out in my head, have an opportunity to have really big games this week. And that Ladd has kind of sort of, he's fallen towards, I'm not going to say he's gotten worse. Ladd hasn't become a worse receiver.
No.
We just haven't had, and some of this has to do with play calling, because a guy like that, you should be able to scheme into open space, which just leads back to who the offensive coordinator is. But this isn't a piss on Greg Roman show. Like, we need him to come up with the best possible game plans he can for the next however many weeks the Chargers have left playing ball this season.
Yep.
But this is a scenario where you got to let these dudes eat. I'm not looking, you can take your downfield shots. If you're going to do it, QJ is one of the people that you want to help to do that, but I still want QJ primarily living with those shallow crosses, middle of the field digs, and allow him to catch the ball, get out in space, tunnel screens, things like that. If you want to take your deep shots, y'all all know who I think is the best guy for that job, Trey Harris.
Mhm.
I think he can eat, but the intermediate portions of the field, all those routes, if you want to run some levels, concepts, um, anything, a mesh, all of that I think can work against the Patriots because they're just not great open field tacklers. And the second level guys are questionable at best, in my opinion. So yeah, there's an opportunity for Herbert to really do some damage. And like if you got a Chip Harold Landry, you really got problems. Like
I
Harold
know.
Landry,
I know.
he was a name coming out that never really quite developed. He had dealt with some injury issues, so he's not a terrible edge rusher. But again, this isn't a game where you should have to dedicate, an extra tight, a dedicated tight end to Chip or a running back to
Yeah.
Chip, an edge rusher, or stay in and pass pro to help protect as an extra protection guy for this edge crew. They don't scare me. But for sure, what you want to do offensively is you're gonna have to be a little bit more balanced and take your deep shots. You want to pick and choose your opportunities to take those shots, but really you want to live in like the short to intermediate game and just make them stop you. March the ball down the field, control clock, control the pace of the game. And again, if you get in the red zone, for a team that's giving up 75% touchdowns on red zone trips to the opponents, you got to cash it in.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, and yeah, it just feels like no matter what they're going to try, the Chargers are going to try to establish a run game no matter what. But
Hmm.
though that intermediate underneath stuff's going to be open all day. And if they can establish a run game, then that's going to open up everything else. And that's been their theory all year. But we'll see
Well,
what they
yeah,
do.
the game plan is always to establish a run and piggyback play action off of that. It's just
Mhm.
that they haven't consistently been able to run the ball,
Yeah.
and teams haven't respected the play action the way that they even did just last year or earlier in the season. They notice what the Chargers want to do. The running game hasn't been super effective, so they just sell out and go after Herbert no matter what. And then you just got guys who don't block very well, so it doesn't really matter one way or the other.
Okay. Well, let's talk about this Patriots offense. We talked about some of the injuries. We are all it just feels like I yeah. So offensively for the Patriots, what are you looking for the Chargers defense to do here?
Man,
Sorry about that.
no, it's all good. Get after May with 4. Well, before we even get to Drake May, let's not pretend like the Patriots don't have solid running backs. Travion Henderson is a one-touch to the house dude. So what you can't afford to happen is to, allow him to get the edge on you or not be disciplined in your run fits. Because if he hits a gap, it's going to be hard to catch him. If he's even, he's leaving. He's one of those dudes. So you can't allow that whatsoever. With that being said, he's their most explosive threat out of the backfield. What's my guy's name? Ramondre Stevenson is
Mhm.
just kind of a pit bull toting the pill. He can break long runs, but he's more of your grinded out banger out of the backfield. So they have like the thunder and lightning dynamic going. And, there's an opportunity for them to also wear you down. But the star of the show for them is Drake May, and they want to feature him as much as possible. Like the Patriots could very well be more of a dominant running team, but they love Drake May so much that they almost want him to pass them into the promised land. Sometimes I think they get away from the running game too often to let May sling the ball around. Now, Drake May, no disrespect at all. Drake May is a very, very good quarterback. He's kind of already being propped up to be like the golden boy of the NFL. This is why the MVP is a weird award because, like we mentioned before, when you look at the competition he's had to go against this year, yeah, the numbers are phenomenal, but what did he have to contend with? But
Mhm.
overall, when we're talking about the offense, first and foremost, the Chargers are going to have to stop their running game, which they could very well. Josh McDaniels could decide to turn it on here in the playoffs, and they have to be ready to get them on early downs to be behind on down and distance. And then you want to get home with 4 against Drake May. and you have the personnel to be able to do it. So get them in third, sixth, third, and seven plus, and then send the hounds after them. Get your NASCAR package out there on the field. You definitely want to have all three of your guys out there, Khalil Tooley and Odafe Owe, and let them go to work. Whether they can win one-on-one matchups, if you want to get Tooley, on the interior over a guard, and let him go to work on the inside that way. You're going to have to get home with 4 as much as humanly possible, because Drake May, while he's a year 2 guy, he's got some good moxie to him, man. Like, I don't think that he's ever really I've seen him too rattled. Maybe like 1 or 2 games this year. I don't want to test blitzing him very often. You pick and choose your spots. You definitely want to mix it in. But I think the goal, which is what the Chargers' goal has been, what they primarily want to do, is get home with their 4. So do that, play decent coverage on the back end. And I think that they have the personnel to play this particular receiving group in a little bit more man if they want to break that out. But I trust, the Chargers defense to go out there and do what they're supposed to do as far as producing. I just need them to also get off to a fast start. Let's not find ourselves in a situation where you're down like in the Houston game and you're having to scratch and claw your way back, because your offense isn't necessarily predicated for that. So that being said, it's kind of some of the high level things I would like to see for them on the defensive side. But I would say the end all be all for me is going to be stop their running game, because once they get going with the run, they become very, very difficult to stop, and they build that momentum up. And Drake May is that much more effective because he can also he can run. So it's another added element to the game that the Chargers are going to have to be prepared for. You have to be disciplined in rushing lanes and keep him in the pocket. The last thing you want him to do is get off schedule, because he can make plays that way also. He's one of these new generation quarterbacks that can do a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not trying to sit here and wax poetic about Drake May, but, he does provide, or he gives a solid, he can put the defense in compromising situations, and the Chargers just have to be as disciplined as humanly possible to get him to play the baseline level of QB within the pocket and make him beat you from there. Don't allow him to get creative outside of your tackles.
Yeah, it's what killed the Chargers yesterday in Denver. And it's the same type of game plan they did with Bo Nix. If you have got to find a way to contain him, and you can't let him rush and go off schedule. So obviously they're going to have to contain and stay in the rushing lanes and make sure that doesn't happen. But it feels like the game plan is pretty clear if you want to beat the Patriots. And the first off is you want to stop the run, like you mentioned, but getting pressure on May is going to be the biggest thing. You're going to have to put pressure on, which is something you want to do for every quarterback, but you want to make him make a mistake, because statistically he is the most accurate quarterback in the league. This season, he was ranked number 1 in completion percentage. And that's just because when he has time, he will find the safest, easiest completion, and he will slowly pick you apart. He's not going, it's not like Mahomes where he's going to beat you with one throw, but he will beat you with a lot of safe, easy 3 to 4 yard throws every couple throws. So it's not like you're looking for a big armed gunslinger, but a guy that's obviously going to find a pretty safe route. But in the 3 losses the Patriots had this year, May threw at least 1 interception and was sacked 3 times. In all 3 of them. Mm-hmm. Pretty clear. Rattle him a little bit. If you can get to May in his first career playoff game, by the way, you got to rattle him a little bit. And if you win the line of scrimmage and hit him as much as possible, hopefully you win that turnover battle and you get to him early, because it could very well just be, too big for the moment. You don't know what he's going to be like in the playoffs. It's going to be his first time. It helps that he's at home, but you got to be able to get to him, and they got to win the turnover battle.
Yeah. This is one of those benefits of having a great offensive coordinator. You got a young QB who's super talented, but you have someone who knows how to put him in a position to succeed. It would be so nice if Justin Herbert had that luxury. So
I know.
Yeah. And someone on Twitter was talking to me earlier about McDaniels and how he's going to have May ready, and there's nothing McDaniels hasn't seen. I get it. McDaniels doesn't take snaps. He doesn't drop back for 25 plus attempts. So what the Chargers are going to have to do is, I don't think you show your hand or show them too much early. Come out and play some vanilla defense and see what they give you. Make him work his way down the field, and then you want to start getting a little fancy with it, with some of like your post snap adjustments, like after the snap of the ball, maybe break some tendencies to catch him in some situations where he expects you to do one thing out of that look, and give him the opposite, or something that maybe you haven't seen from the Chargers at all this season. I will say that this defense has the opportunity to make things very, very difficult for him because of all the pieces that they can utilize. Like, I haven't mentioned Derwin James's name once yet. So when we're talking about getting home with 4, yes, you absolutely want to do that as much as humanly possible. But Derwin can serve multiple purposes in this game. He's someone that they can use kind of as a robber, even do it from his big nickel position, where he can make things really difficult for tight ends, because we got our old friend Hunter Henry they're going to be matched up against as well.
Yeah.
He can kind of give you some options there at the second level, whether you just want to attach him to a tight end, or, like I said, kind of use him as a robber in the middle of the field and let your other safeties kind of do what they need to do over the top. If you want to send him on, because it's going to happen, they're going to send Derwin on a few blitzes. It can be a run blitz. It can be something that's on like a third and longer situation if they're not necessarily getting home with just that front 4. Again, Derwin rushing off the edge with either, Mac to the inside of him, or Thule or Owe, is a task for anyone. And you're going to be really hard pressed, especially attempting to pick up Derwin with a running back, as he's screaming off of the edge, towards me as well. So Derwin's going to play an integral part in this defense. And I think they're going to get a little tricky with May as the game goes on. And you're going to see potentially, like you mentioned, at least one INT. I think they're going to be able to get from him, just because they're going to show him something post snap that he wasn't expecting. He's probably going to just place the ball somewhere that he absolutely shouldn't, but he's throwing it in anticipation, thinking someone's not going to be there that absolutely will. And I think that could be like one of those Tar Heap Still or Derwin James specials, where they get, I'm not gonna say an easy pick, but they trick him, give him a little bit of window dressing, and because that they walk away with like a key turnover somewhere, and it helps to give the offense some decent field position.
Yeah. It feels like the Derwin Hunter Henry matchup we're going to see pretty often, kind of like what they do in KC, because they're outside of Stephon Diggs, there isn't much this offense outside of the run, in the passing game specifically, that this receiver core really brings you without Mac Hollins, between Demario Douglas and your boy Booty. There's not much else going on. So you think Derwin's probably going to be matching up with Hunter Henry, hopefully trying to take that away. And then, outside, it just feels like the corners, like we mentioned earlier, match up pretty nicely. But in terms of the run game, I mean, you mentioned Travion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson, but over the last 5 games, they've averaged almost 170 yards and almost 6 yards per carry. Stevenson finished with a touchdown in his last 3 games. He had 131 yards and 2 scores last week, but that was against a pretty battered Miami defense. But, those running backs are kind of on a heater right now. So obviously stopping the run game is going to be pretty important. Both run defenses are about this matched up evenly. They're like a little bit above average, not, a little bit better than good, not great in terms of the run defense. So it really comes down to the Chargers stopping the run. And I know the Patriots are probably going to try to do the same thing because, Greg Roman's going to try to establish run. But they've got to limit Stevenson and Henderson as much as they possibly can, because, if you are going to make Drake May try to beat you with this receiving core, that's probably your best way to win this game. If you can get him in situations where it is 3rd and longer instead of 3rd and manageable, because in 3rd and manageable, it just feels like he's always on target and always on time, because he can find that safe route more times than not. But when you got him in a 3rd and 7 to 10, it's it feels like it's hunting season for this defense, and May could be susceptible to some some mistakes. So, offensively, this is a pretty good team. Again, they've had a pretty cupcake schedule, so it's going to be interesting to see this. Somebody mentioned in the chat, I saw it on Twitter too, and it felt like they talked about the parallels between the Chargers last year, who had a pretty cupcake schedule, didn't really win against a lot of good teams, got in the playoffs, and got the brakes beaten off them in Houston. And then now the Patriots kind of following that same route. Obviously, a different team, a better record, and they're playing at home in New England. But it's going to be interesting because it's Drake May's first playoff game, and for the love of God, and I know we're over an hour now, but please God, get Herbert his first playoff win. I cannot take another. He's not clutch. He's not good. He can't. He's good in the regular season. He's a regular season darling. Can't win the playoffs. I can't take that anymore. Which I think we should probably talk about what we think the outcome of this game is. But yeah, so it just feels like offensively for the Patriots, the Chargers are going to have to stop the run. They got to limit Henderson and Stevenson, and then they got to get pressure on Drake May with 4. Hopefully you've got Derwin matched up with Hunter Henry a lot. And then try to make May make a mistake. And then obviously New England's going to try to stop the run. So the Chargers are going to have to try to establish the run, get something going. And then Chargers offensive line has got to find a way to get Herbert some time. There are just no excuses. I don't mean to just I bury this Patriots pass rush. I was going to say something else, but I was trying to find a better way to say it. I don't want to bury this pass rush for the Patriots, but they truly are not good enough to be giving a team fits. And if this offensive line, even as bad as they are not giving Herbert time with marquee guys like Chason and Landry, then I don't know what to tell you. And I know they've got some interior guys that are pretty good, but I mean, they're not like, they're not studs. They're not like going to get double-digit sacks every year. They're very good players, but in terms of the pass rushers, they just don't have them. And the Chargers offensive line's got to find a way to get Herbert time.
I'm expecting a Jesse Minter masterclass as far as defensive play calling is concerned, which I think really gets turned up in the second half. What I will say with regard to just kind of game flow, this isn't one of those matchups where you want to find yourself. Listen, the Chargers in general, they don't want to find themselves in a shootout. I don't foresee that being one of those things this week either. I don't think it's going to happen. This is probably going to be one of those, and I know the Patriots have been averaging almost 30 points a game. I think this ends up being one of those, maybe the first to 24 type situations, like mid-20s. And I guess we'll give predictions here in a little bit. Yeah. But when you're talking about just the type of game that you want to play, Drake May is exceptional passing against zone defense, which the Chargers like to run a lot of. What I feel like is they're going to make him dink and dunk his way down the field.
Yeah.
They're going to do their best to be as stout as possible against the run. And if they give up some third down conversions, maybe if it's like manageable 3rd and 4, things of that nature, they give up a few, you might get into scoring range. And, if you're holding them to 3s as opposed to 6s, you're probably going to have to take that a few times and be okay with it, because this offense is explosive. You're not going to stop them consistently. I think May is going to get his when we're talking about completion percentage.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't worry so much about completion percentage. What you want to do is just continue to keep a roof on the defense. If he's going to dink and dunk you, you're going to have to take it. But then this Chargers defense being what they are in the red zone, I have faith in being able to keep them out of the end zone. So it's going to be a little frustrating. They may get some extended drives, but I expect the Chargers to do some bend don't break. But also, when you're talking about those 10+ play drives or 8 to 10 plays, you're expecting at some point Minter's going to dial up something that forces May into a bad decision. It's going to result in some sort of turnover, whether it's like a strip sack, an INT, something along those lines. So yeah, if you're expecting the Chargers to just flat out dominate them, even if it's a team that hasn't played a tremendous schedule this season, the Patriots aren't slouches. We're not going to do that. But again, I think that there's an opportunity here for Mentor to go out there and essentially put the defenders in the best possible situation to where they can cause some confusion for May and force him into a couple of bad decisions. Like I said, whether that comes by way of holding the ball too long and taking a sack that results in a fumble or throwing at least a pick, I see that happening at some point, and that essentially being what turns the tide of the game as far as momentum is concerned. I could easily see it being a back and forth situation. That being said, without any further rambling on, I mean, I cannot not pick the Chargers and Herbert to get his first playoff win. We're going to will this into happening. And with that being said, I think the Chargers win 24-20.
Craig, that was the exact score I was just about to give you. Oh, yeah, I've got the same exact thing. It feels like the Chargers get that bend but don't break one more time than the Patriots do, where the Chargers get in the red zone and they do exactly that. They get to the red zone 4 times, and the Patriots give up 3 touchdowns to the Chargers in the red zone, and they got to kick a field goal one at a time. That's 24 points. And then the Chargers, make them kick 1 extra field goal. It comes down to like a Drake May last minute drive that the Chargers end up holding strong on, and May can't will them to another victory, and the Chargers win 24-20. I don't see any universe where this is a blowout. Well, I don't want to say anything because anything could happen for the Chargers. I don't want to. But this feels like it's going to be close, and it feels like this is a coin flip no matter what. Like even Vegas is saying this is a coin flip. Patriots are +3 at home. I mean, it's 3.5 maybe. This is an absolute coin flip. Like it feels like it's going to take a turnover, a broken play touchdown, an interception, a pick six. Something's going to happen at some point, and it's going to be one play that's going to hinge on the rest of the game. It just feels like it's going to be so close where they're going to probably jump out and get reeled like a bunch of points early in the first half, and then it's just going to be like a dog fight for the second half, and they're both going to have to kind of slog through some messy defenses, and it just feels like it's going to be a really close game, and I feel like the Chargers win by 1 score.
2 things that I absolutely want no part of. I love Cameron Dicker. I do not want this game to come down to a field goal. I can't take it, especially after watching what happened last night in that Steelers game.
But Dicker made his Steelers.
I have nothing but faith in him. I just don't I don't care. I don't want the game coming down to a field goal.
Matter
I just
what.
can't. I don't want to do it. I don't want to take the chance. And also the officiating crew. I'm gonna say this right now. Ron Torbert, don't be that guy this week. You and your band of idiots, don't do it. Please, not this week. I've seen, and we've been a part of some really trash games with this officiating crew, specifically with him as the head guy. Not this week, Ron. We ain't doing it. I know it's in prime time. Bright lights are going to be out. Everybody's going to be watching. You are not the show, my man. Don't be the reason. Please don't. Just whatever you're going to do. My only request is that you be consistent in doing it. That is all I ask. I don't expect a perfectly officiated game. I don't know if there's such a thing. If you're going to swallow the whistles all night, do it on both sides. If you're calling everything, do it on both sides. That's all I want. Do not make this a situation where it comes down to a terrible call. I don't want that. So those 2 things. Cameron Dicker, love you. I would rather not this game come down to a kick from you, just because it's how I feel about kickers in general. Doesn't matter who it is. And Ron Torbert, if you do the thing, somehow, some way, you got to see me. Just get the bail money ready. You have to see me. I'm not doing refs. The refs cannot be a factor in the game. Come on. We've had enough bad luck with this referees in big games. So that being said, those are my 2 main things that I want no parts of. But I mean, if it's going to be one or the other, then Cam, I have faith in you doing what you have to do to get us home. But I would much rather it end, in victory formation as opposed to a field goal.
Yes. So we both have it 24-20 Chargers. We willed this matchup to be. Hopefully we willed this first Justin Herbert playoff win to be. And that'll do it for us. For those of you asking, I'm sure we will be doing an after hours right after the game. I mean, it's probably going to be late, I think, but whatever. We'll figure it out. And if we don't, we'll do it Monday, but we'll definitely be covering it. We'll be recapping the game. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. Excited that we get to do a playoff podcast, and we will see you next time.
Salute.